Also with the business plan, you also help small businesses as far as getting their businesses a web presence and an internet presence, and how helpful that can be.
Yeah, we'll have you meet with Sharon, and by the time you leave her office, you will be a true believer too. She recently gave, she and a web designer gave a seminar in Boca Raton, which I know is a bit south of you. We're going to be doing that sort of thing up in this part of the county. But it was 3 hours, and it covered absolutely every aspect, from buying a domain to physically setting up your website, to optimizing it, to making sure that the content changes, that there are keywords, that you're linked to social media. So in effect, you're in front of everybody, every day, all the time. It sounds kind of obnoxious when you put it that way, but when you're a small business owner and you're trying to market, you're not alone. There's competition out there. And yes, you are the best. And you are the cheapest and the most convenient, and you have the most parking and all that sort of thing. But you have to get the word out there. Very often people feel that once the struggle of getting a business started is over, they're going to sit back and just enjoy the profits, sort of the if we build it, they will come approach. And one of the first things we'll talk you out of is that approach, because you absolutely have to market relentlessly. And we can tell you how to do that.
Thank you. Let's give just a hand.
Thanks, Phil. That's really great advice. I have to tell you, after I worked for a home box office for a number of years, and then I retired, and I went out and I started a couple of small businesses myself. And if I had known then what I know now about what's available from SBA, my life would have been a lot easier. So I really encourage you to take advantage of the great resources that we've got here in the Small Business Development Center. They do some terrific work. I'm going to move on now, and after, maybe I'm going to move on. After, that was, here we go. We're going to talk about access to capital. So after Phil's center has really trained you up and you get that great business plan and marketing ideas and so on, and you're ready to go, then you have to find capital to get that business up and running. And that can be a real challenge today. What we're going to do on this slide is actually talk about the different kinds of capital programs, access to capital programs we have at SBA. On the left-hand side, you'll see guarantee programs, and on the right-hand side, you'll see a direct loan program. Now, before I came to SBA, I just assumed that all the loans that SBA got involved with must be direct loans. That's not the case. The vast majority of what SBA does is guarantee loans, and by providing guarantees on those loans, banks feel more comfortable about making loans to folks that they normally wouldn't make a loan to. So we'll start with the 7A loan. It is our biggest loan product. It goes through a traditional bank. And what SBA does there, it's capped at $5 million. And what SBA does there is guarantee that loan somewhere between 75 and 85%. And because of that guarantee, the bank then feels comfortable about making the loan. The next loan we have is a 504 loan. And this is kind of interesting because it's a hybrid in a sense. And it does involve a nonprofit, whether it be faith-based or secular, has to get involved in this. They are the aggregator of the loan, if you will. The bank takes down, the traditional bank takes down about 50% of the loan. The nonprofit, 504, it's a CDC, and they have to be certified by SBA. They take about 40% of the loan, and the borrower has to come up with 10% of the loan. At the end of the day, the bank, and the guarantee is actually on the 40% that is taken out by the CDC. But the bank feels comfortable with this kind of loan because the proceeds from this loan have to go for big, hard assets, big equipment, machinery, land, big leasehold improvements. So the bank feels that they're protected even if something goes bad with the deal because they have the first position on that mortgage. The last one is Community Advantage, and that's a relatively new product. We had a lot of mission lenders, if you will. CDFIs and microloan intermediaries came to us and said, hey, listen, we don't have a 7A type guarantee product. We want to get out, we want to do the right thing by our neighbors, but we don't have something that's really significant. So we've come up with the Community Advantage program. It's capped at $250,000. And basically what it does is provide a 7A guarantee product to mission lenders like CDFIs and microloan intermediaries. The loan program that I'm really pushing hard is the one on the right-hand side, and that's his direct loan program. It is direct in the sense that SBA loans money to a nonprofit intermediary. It is required that we go, with the microloan program, we must go through a nonprofit, whether it be faith-based or secular. And then the nonprofit then makes the decision as to who they want to loan the money out to. The maximum size of this loan is $50,000. The microloan intermediary is required to provide technical assistance, and because we have that technical assistance requirement, we do have some grant money to help offset the expense of that. It's used for machinery, equipment, and so on. And the maturity on that is it's a short-term loan, 6 years or less. So why is it important to have a microloan intermediary in your neighborhood? I think here's the reason. If you're a small business person today, it's pretty hard to get a loan. If you're a small business person in an underserved community, it's almost impossible to get a loan today. So after all the big, and I'm not disparaging any of these players, but after all the big players like Chase or Citibank or Bank of America have said no, it's important that you have some place that you can go to try to get that money to get your business up and running. Now, this isn't to say that a microloan intermediary is a miracle worker. If it's a bad plan, it's a bad plan. But what it does is provide you with a local financing option, almost like a truly local bank where you can go. And that microloan intermediary is making the decisions. It's not an SBA decision. The microloan intermediary is making the decision as to who gets the loan. So let's say, as I mentioned earlier, the cap on the microloan is $50,000. So let's say you know an entrepreneur who recently got out of the military. With $50,000, that person, and that person may have some skills with carpentry or plumbing or electrician or something. With $50,000, he or she could probably buy that truck, get those tools, get in business. He's an entrepreneur. It's good for him. It's good for his family. It's good for his community. It's important to point out here, though, and so there's kind of two levels here. There's we want to build awareness of the microloan program, and I'm also looking to recruit faith-based and neighborhood organizations that might be interested in becoming microloan intermediaries. To the extent that I'm reaching out to faith-based and neighborhood organizations that might be interested in this kind of mission lending, it's important to point out there's not money to be made in this. This is not about making money like a bank. What it is about is doing the right thing for your neighbor and your community and trying to really make a difference in people's lives. Okay. Now this is the pitch I'm making to faith-based or neighborhood organizations who might have some interest in becoming a microloan intermediary. The first thing you have to be is a nonprofit. The next thing you have to do is have, and this can be a bit problematic for, particularly for faith-based organizations, you have to have at least 1 year's experience of making small loans to businesses, providing technical assistance to those borrowers, and servicing those loans. Now, as I go around the country, I do run into a number of faith-based organizations who have credit unions, and those credit union type loans just don't count. We aren't talking about loans on cars or trucks or houses. What we're talking about here are loans for small businesses, perhaps startup loans or expansion loans, but they have to be loans to small businesses. And probably in the neighborhood of, 5, it doesn't have to be, and we'll get to that in a minute, but not necessarily a big loan. These are relatively small loans. And from the government's point of view, we have to make sure at the end of the day, because this is a loan to the intermediary is on the hook for the money. So we have to make sure, because it is taxpayers' money, that at the end of the day, we have confidence that that intermediary knows what he or she is doing and will make the right kind of loans that will get repaid. Okay. I guess we're going to move on to government contracting here. Sorry, I didn't give you a heads up, Tom. I had mentioned, while Tom is setting up his slides, I had mentioned earlier that the White House Office of Faith-Based Neighborhood Partnerships has pretty much given me a task of reaching out to faith-based neighborhood organizations to try to identify potential microloan intermediaries. So to the extent that you or an organization that you're familiar with might be interested in getting involved in the program, and you don't have the experience yet to become a microloan intermediary, we actually have developed a roadmap. I have copies of the roadmap up here. And basically what the roadmap does, it sets out the things that the organization has to do now to prepare to submit an application in 12 to 18 months to the microloan program. So if you're interested at all, we've got copies of the roadmap up here. Tom, are you ready?
I guess.
Tom's going to talk you through government contracting.
Good afternoon. I remember a lot of you folks from some classes we put on here years ago with the Business Loan Fund. How many people ever attend those? Now, I know I recognize you from someplace. One? I could have swore there were at least 15 or 20 at every one of these things. You didn't come 20 times, did you? Holy. Again, thank you for coming this afternoon. One of the things that Jerry asked me to talk about was government contracting and some of the things that are available to you. I want to add first to Phil's presentation about the SBDC. SBDC isn't the only place in town you can get some counseling. If you're not satisfied with what they're doing, we have two score chapters in Palm Beach County. One is in Boca and one is in North Palm Beach. Why do we call it North Palm Beach? Right over here on Australian in West Palm Beach. We also have the Women's Business Center in Delray Beach. Ladies, y'all ever been there? Again, are you the only one taking advantage of our programs?
You're the only one that went 20 times.
How many veterans we got in here?
Wow.
Okay, good.
Thank God for our veterans. Let's give our veterans hand. I just like to interrupt. They kept us safe and secure.
Let me get on here. My name is Tom Gallman. I work out of the South Florida District Office in Miami. I am stationed in Fort Pierce, Florida. I cover 9 counties: Palm Beach to Brevard, Osceola, Okeechobee, Glades, and Highlands.